And we're live. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of KJ's What Happened. We look back on the weirdest of the week and also a bunch of random stuff as well. I started doing these a while back because throughout the years I've had people ask if I would start uploading a lot more. And I have a whole rhythm to kind of how I work. And I really like to take my time on the videos I do. And I pack a lot of stuff in those videos to make sure that to make sure they matter. I could, I'm sure, make a lot more money if I just did these stories throughout the week as individual videos, but I feel that takes something away from what I'm trying to do, the overall message, and the importance I place on my videos on my channel. So that's why I started doing this a while back, so this way I can cover all the other little stories throughout the week in one lump sum. If you're new here, welcome. Kick back. I hope you enjoy. If you're returning, thank you so much. I saw Tamara as the moderator. Thanks, Tamara, as always. I appreciate it. Didn't see anybody else in there, but usually people join later. Also, we're doing this at a different time this week. It's a few hours earlier than usual. I have some prior obligations tonight. Also, though, I wonder, I have a lot of friends in Europe that listen to the show, and it comes on at 7 p.m. Central Time here in America, but that's like 2 a.m. to them. So right now, this is coming on around midnight. Anyway, I'm interested, if you don't mind, once the show's uploaded, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about the time. If you guys want me to push it to 5 p.m. or if you'd rather keep it at 7 p.m. and just, let me know. Anyway, enough of all that. Let's just go ahead and get started. But once again, nice to see you here. Thank you very much. So here's the first story. Student diagnosed with Sleeping Beauty syndrome may sleep for weeks at a time. A college student said she suffers from a rare syndrome that causes her to sleep for weeks at a time and is even napped through her exams. Rhoda Rodriguez Diaz, 21, was allegedly diagnosed with Sleeping Beauty syndrome, which can cause her to sleep for up to 22 hours per day, only waking in a dreamlike trance to eat junk food, drink, and go to the bathroom. That doesn't sound healthy, does it? At its worst, her sleeping episodes allegedly last 3 weeks, which caused her to fail the second year of college after she slept through crucial end-of-year exams. As a child, Rodriguez Diaz was diagnosed with hyperinsomnia characterized by extreme tiredness by her general physician. But it wasn't until last September that doctors finally discovered the psychology student had the 1 in a million Klein-Levin syndrome. She goes months at a time without experiencing an episode, but when they strike, she's totally wiped out. Life goes on whilst I'm sleeping, she says. Reality hits when I wake up and I realize I've missed like a week of my life. I feel a huge setback when it does happen. I miss out on so much. That's the hardest part. It's hard to explain to people where I've been because it's so rare. A lot of people struggle to understand. It's really annoying when people call me lazy. I do struggle to deal with the effects of it, but I'm determined to not let it have a big impact on my life, she said. It's one part of me and not who I am. It's frustrating because people think I'm just lazy, but I'm not. I can't help it. Rodriguez Diaz said that as a child, she was unable to spend as much time with friends as she would have liked. When I was 4 or 5, I'd sleep for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, and the doctors had no idea what it was. It was quite bad when I was a child, but then it didn't happen again until I was a teenager. When I was 15 or 16, I remember finding myself sleeping more and more. Even at school, I would fall asleep in the study area. I forced myself to go to school. I didn't get teased, but I found it very frustrating. I was really into my sports, but I couldn't do as much as I wanted to because I was constantly tired. I had to force myself to do everyday activities and found myself mentally tired all of the time. When I wake up after a few days, I feel normal again, she said. My friends say they can tell when I have an episode coming on because my mood changes. I get worked up and my behavior changes drastically. Between February and June last year, she went through a period of suffering from a number of episodes, which left her unable to spend enough time on her studies. She said she was dismissed from her course in July last year when she failed to show for a number of exams and missed coursework deadlines because she was asleep. After a visit to the doctor in May last year, she was sent to see specialists at St. Thomas Hospital and finally got her diagnosis. It's not as bad as it used to be, but I feel like I'm always playing catch-up, she said. I was sleeping a lot in my first year too, but because it didn't have too much of an impact on my work, I didn't go to the doctors. It was when I was missing work that I went to my GP. I tried to explain to uni that I had a condition that was stopping me from doing work. But because I wasn't diagnosed until September, I had nothing to back it up, she said. I didn't have enough credits to pass the year, and I was dismissed. Rodriguez Diaz last experienced an episode around 3 months ago when she slept for over 60 hours in just 3 days. Can you imagine that? She said she typically snacks on junk food, that's no good, during nap breaks and often puts on weight during an episode. She is now re-enrolled to resume her studies and is sitting her second year again. All right. Can you imagine that? 60 hours? Sleeping for 60 hours in just 3 days? Crazy. Crazy. Speaking of crazy, a man who had a 2-day erection has the tip of his wiener amputated by doctors. A man in India had to have his wiener partially amputated after he developed gangrene from an erection that lasted 2 days. The unnamed 52-year-old presented himself to doctors because he couldn't get rid of the painful and sustained erection. Bungling medics swiftly drained the blood from his wiener, but left a catheter in and tightly dressed his wiener, causing the patient to develop black gangrene. They were left with little option but to amputate after he reported back to them showing signs of severe tissue damage caused by an acute loss of circulation. Details of the highly unusual case, which occurred at King George's Medical University in Lucknow, northern India, were published last month in the British Medical Journal. The man had been suffering from priapism, a medical term for a persistent and painful erection. It is not known what caused the patient's condition, but experts consider an erection lasting more than 48 hours a medical emergency. And that's about enough of that. But you know what it reminds me of? We've covered these stories here on the show before, that some of the main consumers over the last several years of Viagra and Cialis and some of these medicines men use to make their wiener wake up, it's actually young people. It's young men. It's because of the prawn addiction, being addicted to watching naughty things online from a very early age. And now they have teenagers who are stealing their parents' erection medication. And I'd seen stories of this too, where kids were freaking out because, I mean, they're young, so their bodies should be functioning, really well. And then they add that to the equation, so you've got these youngins running around with, wieners that won't go away for a couple days as well, and that could be an issue. That could be a big issue for somebody too. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting medical case there. So there's trends. Every week we find different kinds of trends, and there's certain things I'm always looking for, and I'm seeing more and more of this, of course. It's I've mentioned this before, we see this so much censorship taking place right now, and for the last couple of years it's all been focused on, quote, the right, conservatives, Republicans, etc. But I've told you guys that I believe it's a spirit that's at work, and that eventually that's going to turn more towards Christians. This whole censorship idea on every level in our society eventually will start turning more towards the Christians. And we're seeing that. We're seeing some examples of that. Christian college nursing, education students getting blacklisted. Austin, Texas. Some Christian schools have encountered hospitals and schools that refuse to accept their nursing and education students for jobs and internships. Shirley Hoogstra, president of the Council for Christian Colleges and Universities, told the Christian Post. The students are being turned away due to the college's understanding of marriage is between one man and one woman. I've told y'all this for a very long time. That's how they're going to come after the Christians. It's going to go back to the whole homosexuality argument. And I just did a video a few days ago called "Everything Speeding Up as Time's End Approaches," and I showed you guys that throughout history, many great empires have fallen by following the same few steps. And one of those steps is the open acceptance of homosexuality. This is history. We've seen this historically taking place. And now, of course, it's America's turn, it seems. So the problem's not widespread, she explained, but it is an issue that the CCCU has been dealing with and is concerned about for the future. There have been small pockets in the United States where Christian colleges that have held a traditional understanding of marriage have had some of their professional programs impacted. For instance, there have been some public schools that will not allow teachers into their schools, not because they have witnessed the student teachers in any way being bigoted or discriminatory, but because they have a penalty against a school that has a traditional understanding of marriage. In terms of nursing placements, this has repeatedly been a conversation between the public hospitals and nursing placements for student nurses. It's not widespread yet, but there are pockets of it which concerns us. She clarified that it has nothing to do with the personal beliefs of the students, but the positions of the schools. It could be the student has a very open understanding of marriage, but it doesn't matter. It's a categorical ban because the institution holds a particular historic understanding of marriage. Concerns over religious freedoms of Christian colleges were also heard at CCCU's President's Conference in D.C. During that event, Shirley Mullen, president of the Houghton College and vice chair of CCCU's board of directors, noted, "The standard Western narrative of progress has assumed that deeply held religious beliefs result in intolerance, conflict, violence, and oppression. And while many view Christian higher ed as very monolithic internally, in fact, Christian education is, quote, often really tough-minded, thoughtful dialogue." About 200 people attended the event, where conservative Washington Post columnist Michael Gerson was the keynote speaker, and this is from Advocacy Day. On Wednesday, attendees visited political leaders in the Texas legislature to discuss issues they care about. According to a 26-page advocacy and public policy guide given to all the attendees, these issues included children and families, human trafficking, immigration, religious liberty, poverty, and life. Okay, it's fine. I think we got the point. Now it's getting boring. This story is. I get bored some of these stories halfway through, but we got the main point. It's a trend to watch, definitely. This one's pretty wild here. Drama student stabbed 2 classmates while rehearsing a scene, the police say. A drama student has been charged with attempted murder. Oops. Hope this will let us watch. It's one thing I've noticed too, week to week, more of these online news organizations are they're making you subscribe so you can read their stories. And this is just another sign, really, of, in a lot of ways, of the dinosaur media dying, mainstream media dying. So many people are awake right now. Certainly helps that you got the president of the United States calling all these people fake news, So yeah, lots of people are waking up and getting sick and tired of these mainstream organizations, news organizations, having a stranglehold on information. Anyway, I'll continue. Trauma student's been charged with attempted murder and assault after allegedly stabbing his classmates while reenacting a violent movie scene. The movie scene was from The Butterfly Effect, that movie, which is very interesting. You never seen The Butterfly Effect? Check it out. Lots of MK Ultra symbolism going on in there. University of Hartford student Jake Washer was working on a group project with 2 other students in a dorm room on Sunday afternoon when he took the class assignment too far. At around 1:30 p.m., officers responded to a call of 2 people stabbed. When they arrived, they found 2 young men with stab wounds. Authorities said the 19-year-old victim from South Windsor suffered puncture wounds to his chest and back, while a 21-year-old victim suffered a puncture wound to his chest and 4 to his back. One was listed in critical but stable condition, and the other was listed in stable condition. Washer was arrested 2 hours later in a wooded area south of the university after the institution was placed on lockdown. He is said to have told officers that he was, quote, curious what it would be like to stab someone. Who's curious about this kind of stuff? Police said the 21-year-old was a commuter student from San Diego and currently pursuing a BFA in acting. According to the Hartford Courant, the trio were reenacting a scene from Ashton Kutcher's 2004 sci-fi thriller, The Butterfly Effect. A spokesperson for the University of Hartford said was, quote, deeply saddened by the frightening and unsettling, and would be offering counseling services to members of the campus community. Okay. There you go. There you go. Yeah, if you've never seen The Butterfly Effect, you should definitely check it out. Interesting movie. Also, as I said, lots of mind control themes going on in that movie. There's the kid. He does look a little cuckoo. I don't know if any of you ever tried anything like this. A juice cleanse. A woman's 3-week juice cleanse may have caused irreversible brain damage. A woman in her 40s might have triggered irreversible brain damage by drinking just orange juice and water for 3 weeks. The report says the woman has been in the hospital for days and is severely malnourished. It adds that her diet could be the cause of potentially irreversible brain damage. After her juice cleanse, which was recommended to her by an, quote, alternative therapist, the report says she ended up in the Sheba Medical Center in Israel. Post-cleanse, she weighed less than 90 pounds, the report says, and she suffered a complication from the diet involving how much salt was in her body. Now, while we can't be sure exactly what's plaguing the patient, it's possible she could be dealing with the little-known dangers of juice cleanses. Hyponatremia. I never heard of that. Hyponatremia is when your sodium levels drop, and it can be deadly. Carrie Gans tells Health, drinking only orange juice and water for an extended period of time could cause hyponatremia, since orange juice isn't rich in sodium. If the patient was only drinking orange juice and water, it's not surprising, she explains. Gans says at least some orange juice has no sodium at all. You need to be ingesting sodium, she stresses, to help your body maintain fluid balance. Symptoms of hyponatremia include confusion, drowsiness, decreased energy levels, headache, fatigue, vomiting, and nausea. Wow. That's a lot to deal with just to lose a few lbs, isn't it? Gans says without enough salt, water invades cells in the body and the cells swell. If severe cases of hyponatremia are left untreated, cells in the body and cells swelling in the brain can lead to seizures, comas, brain damage, or even death. Rarely, hyponatremia can also occur after drinking excessive amounts of water. Say if someone is attempting to rehydrate after a marathon or a bout of stomach flu. That said, hyponatremia is not going to strike after just a few low-salt meals. One day is not going to do it. That's why a person can fast for a whole day and not experience this, Gans says. Exactly how long it takes for hyponatremia to set in depends on how low a person's sodium levels are to begin with. I never even heard of that, have you? Gans says hyponatremia is just one of the seriously dangerous potential side effects of juice cleanses. Headaches, nutritional deficiencies, fatigue, and irritability are all on that list. It's possible to mistake hyponatremia for these other side effects. Okay. So do a juice cleanse, research it first, but don't just drink OJ and water for 3 weeks. Mental note. I'm going to remember that. Sounds painful. There's a new film out. It's called Unplanned. I just read a few days ago that Twitter actually banned Unplanned on their site. And then after people started complaining, they brought it back. Again, this is just that kind of attack towards Christianity or Christian ideas. Directors speak of spiritual warfare while making pro-life film. The writers and co-directors of the upcoming film Unplanned have spoken of how they prepared for a spiritual battle to make the pro-life film in the hopes that it will change hearts and minds through its groundbreaking depiction of the abortion process. We, from the beginning, knew that it would be a spiritual battle, spiritual warfare. It was prophesied over us that this is not a normal movie. Co-director Carrie Solomon told CNA. Unplanned dramatizes the true life account of Planned Parenthood clinic director Abby Johnson's decision to leave the organization and to become a pro-life campaigner. Solomon and co-director Chuck Konzelman told CNA that they arranged for a priest to exorcise the set and even bless the cast and props. We tried to do mass and adoration as much as we could, said Solomon. For the evangelical Christians involved in making the film, similar spiritual guidance was offered. Despite anticipating the usual stresses of the production process, they told CNA that they found profound moments of tremendous peace on set, which is atypical of the movie-making industry. It was amazing. We didn't have any problems that you would normally have on a movie. Konzelman agreed and added that the set of Unplanned was the calmest set he's ever been on. There was no screaming, there was no tension. The average day would have no incident, they said. That's just not normal in filmmaking. Despite the relative calm on the set, other incidents plagued the cast and crew, as well as their families. Thankfully, nobody was seriously hurt, but there have been several close calls. We've had probably 15 accidents where people or family members of people who worked on the movie were in a car crash and the person would just walk away. They've all been crazy violent, he explained. One person survived a bike accident that destroyed her helmet, and a producer's car was split in half after being T-boned. Lead actress Ashley Bratcher, who plays the role of Abby Johnson, survived a near-death car accident under bizarre circumstances. Ashley herself, she had a stag jump backwards. I've never seen deer jump backwards on the highway into her car and wiped out her car and almost killed her, said Solomon. The accident saw both airbags deploy and left Bratcher trapped in her car, and yet she got out and walked away. She was stuck on the highway in the dark. Konzelman said that despite the challenges faced during filming and the financial hurdles to completing the production, he never doubted that there was a higher interest supporting the film. It took 2 years for us to raise the money for this film, from the production to the marketing, which I never would have expected that would be the case, he said. The Lord has told us this from the beginning, and this is obviously putting it in human speak. I've got this. I've got you. Do not fear, for this is for my glory. The film provides an uncensored graphic look at the realities of abortion and received an R rating from the MPAA. Unplanned is the first R-rated film to be distributed by Pure Flix, a Christian movie production company. The co-directors previously told CNA that they would not be challenging the rating, which they feared was motivated by the movie's political message. No one's ever seen a graphic presentation of abortion before. It's been very carefully and very studiously avoided by the entertainment industry. He explained to CNA that Planned Parenthood employs a director of arts and entertainment engagement, quote, who teaches the mainstream film industry and television industry how to film in accordance with their guidelines. So someone from Planned Parenthood comes in and teaches the filmmakers how to film in accordance with their guidelines. Okay, great. Unplanned is unique, Konzelman said, because it tells the story of the abortion industry from the perspective of someone who was once a part of that industry, and it does not sugarcoat the reality. He and Solomon hopes her story will inspire other people to either leave their jobs in that industry or to change their minds on the issue. Seeing one of these procedures is what changed Abby's life. No matter how pro-choice you are, you can't be more pro-choice than Abby Johnson was, said Konzelman. Prior to becoming clinic director, Johnson herself underwent 2 abortions. Both of these are shown in the film. And yet one look at the process taking place in front of her eyes in real time changed her entire life. In fact, the film has already changed the perspective of one viewer, Solomon's father. Solomon told CNA that showing his, quote, far-left, pro-choice atheist father a short clip of the film caused him to change his heart entirely on the issue. Solomon shared a clip where 2 volunteers from the Coalition for Life group pray over a 55-gallon drum containing fetal remains. He said his father told him that Unplanned was going to, quote, change the world because of its unflinching portrayal of abortion, which was something he had not previously seen or thought about. The movie showed what we as a society never want to see. And now when you know, you can't unknow. So apparently it's already been released. And some of you may have already seen it. I don't know. But this would be a good one, I would think, for people to see. Sounds like a very powerful message. And here in America, you know, now we've moved beyond just pro-life, or sorry, pro-choice, to infanticide. You know, they're talking about killing the babies after they're born now. It's that slippery slope, right? That slippery slope. This isn't really so much about the story. I just wanted to show y'all. We've seen this a lot before. There's another 1 or 2, I think, in here too. But I'm always seeing that, you know, I did a video a while back on the number 33, a magic number, a coded number. There's a lot with the number 33. And I see so many stories, it seems, week to week where they'll do this. They always throw in the person's age, but it's always the 33. I don't see a lot of other ages get thrown in there. But it's Texas woman 33. They need to let us know the 33. Dies after large rock thrown from overpass crashes through car's windshield. So just tossing that out there. It's something we talk about a lot here on the show. You've heard me talk about it before and show you a lot of examples. We see that a lot. 33 is a very interesting number. Most importantly, it's the age that we're told that Christ, died, right? There's 32 levels in Freemasonry, and some say there's a 33rd. Here's another one. Mystery after happy, healthy woman, 33, thanks for letting us know, dies suddenly on Qantas flight. Avid flyer Alicia Tracy, 33, died on a flight from Los Angeles to Australia while heading home for a holiday just days after posting a photo of her boarding pass. A woman who died under mysterious circumstances on a flight home to Australia from Los Angeles was an avid flyer with no health issues, her friends have revealed. Alicia Tracy, 33, we got it, 33, had flown the route many times before and was heading home from a holiday in the United States when she died just hours into the 16-hour flight. Her devastated friends say they have no idea how she died. She had no known medical conditions and was happy and healthy before she got on board. Victoria police say Miss Tracy's death would be for the coroner to investigate, and a post-mortem examination was due to be carried out on Tuesday. Close friend David Loiterton paid tribute to her on Facebook. He wrote, Alicia Tracy, I'm devastated. I'll miss you brightening up my day. I'll miss your hilarious stories. I'll miss your bargain stories. All right. Anyway, not much more to it. Just kind of talking about how she was a nice lady and happy and healthy. But what caused this mysterious death? And does it have anything to do with the coded number 33? Like, is this a story for a select group of individuals? I know it sounds crazy, but these are things I wonder sometimes. This is cuckoo. This one's really cuckoo. Wow. This is cuckoo. The new, quote, consent condoms. Have you heard of these? They require 4 hands to open special packaging. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Here we go. An Argentinian manufacturer has launched a line of condoms packaged in a way. I'm going to bookmark this because I'll probably return to this story for something else. An Argentinian manufacturer has launched a line of condoms packaged in a way that requires 4 hands to open the box. Tulipan designed consent condoms, which can be accessed only when 2 people, using both of their hands, press down simultaneously on 4 pressure points along the sides of the package. The package is designed, its intended design is to promote mutual respect. Wow, how romantic. If it's not a yes, it's a no, Joaquin Campins, general director of BBDO Argentina said. Tulipan has always spoken of safe pleasure, but for this campaign, we understood that we had to talk about the most important thing in every sexual relationship. Pleasure is possible only if you both give your consent first. The company plans to hand out its limited edition condom packs at bars and other events in Buenos Aires for free before selling the product in stores. So now you and your friends can use these together. Where did the idea come from? The idea came about after the AIDS Healthcare Foundation Argentina released its results of a survey that showed fewer than 15% of the nation's men regularly use condoms during sex. AHF Argentina is a nonprofit organization that advocates for the rights of those who are HIV positive. I got an idea. What if we tried doing what God told us to do? I know. Hey, I'm not perfect over here either. I'm just saying. And maybe we don't just bang all these people before marriage. Maybe we really try to find a partner we love. Hopefully they love God too. Get together with this partner, marry them. I'm not a big fan of a lot of elements of marriage in this world. That's a whole other subject. But to find that mate and just be with them for the rest of your life and, just share your body with the one that you're, quote, married to, whatever that may look like. We'll discuss that some other time. I just feel weird about marriage ceremonies, putting a ring of Saturn on her finger. Also, all the legal issues that pop up. This is all in my newest video. I've got a new video coming out. Right now I'm calling it, I've changed the title a few times, but it's called Proof That People's Hearts Are Growing Colder in These Days. A simple message, but it's actually very complex, and I'm covering a lot of different angles on this. So I'll probably even add this one in, this story here. Yeah, we're not supposed to be running around, plugging everybody we meet that we think, looks nice or that we have a good conversation with. Right? I mean, we're not, but now you got condoms where it's going to take two people to open them. Things are getting complicated, aren't they? It's getting a little complicated. Consent condoms. Consent condoms. Maybe we try. Why are all the public schools always kicking out the ideas that people want to put into the schools of abstinence? Why is that not so? Why do they hate that so much? Right? You ever wonder? We know. They'd rather just give the kids condoms, right? And then teach them basic biology. Here's one for you. So you're hanging out at the shop, ladies, getting your hair did, and then this happens.
It's a thought Melissa Cherry can't get out of her mind.
All night long I was thinking that could have been me sitting right there where the truck came into the building.
She's been coming here for 8 years. She says the folks inside are like family.
On weekdays, I'll just drop in and say, "Hey, Tommy, can you do my nails?" But something changed my mind at the last minute, and I thought, I'll wait. I'll call him tomorrow and go by.
Cherry is thankful she wasn't there yesterday to see the destruction. That destruction extending next door to this bridal shop owned by Rob Sheets, who also owns the building.
He hit the back of the building and was sitting there. The truck was still accelerating and the tires were smoking. And the smoke from the tires is what did the damage to this side.
The smoke from that crash yesterday could have impacted the inventory here at the Bridal Gallery of Maryville. And I'm not just talking about wedding gowns. Think about what month we're in right now. I'm talking about rentals for prom season. Sheets saying he's working with the insurance companies now and staying positive about what's next.
We bought the property, 5 wooded acres here, and developed this.
It's a thought Melissa Cherry can't get out of her mind.
All night.
It's a thought Melissa Cherry can't get out of her mind. It's a thought Melissa Cherry can't get out of her mind.
Okay, that's crazy. I just wanted to see the footage a few more times. I really don't care to hear about this guy's bridal store. Not to be a jerk, but that footage is crazy. Crazy. I think there's another one in here too, something like that. Another crazy crash that happened. This one's pretty wild as well. This is going into a future vid too. Another piece to a bigger puzzle. Shattered statues and satanic symbols mark rise in attacks on French church. Sometimes it's a cross of human excrement smeared on a church wall. Okay, nice. With stolen communion hosts stuck at the 4 corners. Other times, a statue of the Virgin Mary lies shattered on the floor. Now and then a fire breaks out in a house of prayer. Roman Catholic churches have increasingly come under attack in France, a country so long identified with Christianity that it used to be called, quote, the eldest daughter of the church. But a recent fire at St. Sulpice, the second largest church in Paris, has shed light on a trend that has become commonplace in many smaller towns. Who has heard of the sacking of the monastery of St. John de Balme in Aveyron? Of those teenagers who urinated into the holy water font of the church, a bunch of words I can't pronounce. The Paris Daily La Figaro asked last week in an article highlighting some of the lesser-known profanations around the country this month. Incidents such as these get a brief mention in the press, complete with quotes from Catholics shocked at the sight of scattered hosts or beheaded statues, and sometimes a short video clip on national TV. But apart from official denunciations of individual attacks, Catholic leaders in France have refrained from dramatizing what they say is a worrying trend. The sharpest reactions have come from conservative politicians, including 2 National Assembly members who have called for a parliamentary inquiry into the multiplication of anti-Christian acts. The images of flames in St. Sulpice Church this weekend are one more example of the violence committed against Catholics, Philip Gosselin and Annie Genevard said, referring to the blaze in an edifice known to moviegoers around the world as the church in the film version of Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code. Among attacks on churches in February, a cross of human doo-doo, that's so wrong, was found in the southern city of Nimes. A statue of Mary was smashed in a Paris suburb, and a statue of Jesus decapitated in an Atlantic seaside resort with the very Christian name of a bunch of words I can't pronounce. The attacks on Catholic churches and the muted reactions to them reflect the complex role France's once dominant faith plays in a society that has changed so much that ignorance of religion, not only Christianity but others as well, is now widespread. We adopt a reasonable attitude. We do not want to develop a discourse of persecution. We do not wish to complain, Archbishop Georges Pontier, head of the French Bishops' Conference, said when asked about the attacks on churches. We are not victims of a cathophobia, he told Le Point magazine. Hey, Chubbs. Hi. What you doing? You coming in to say hi? Huh? Okay, everyone says hi. All right. Yeah. I got a few little videos I've been recording of him. I'm going to make a little compilation. Maybe next show, that'll be our doom break, is I'll show you guys some footage of Chubbs being a little jerk. It's what he does best. Anyway, hi, Chubbs. So he says, we're not victims of cathophobia, he told Le Point magazine. In its history, Judaism has fought an ongoing struggle against anti-Semitic groups. We Catholics in France now do not have to face such violence every day. I mean, this guy sounds weak, though, right? Like, you got to stand up. It's all right. That's the problem, it seems, is that probably too many Christians throughout the world have just been too lackadaisical. Like, it's cool. It's all right. Remember there's that story in, I think it's in Europe, maybe it's in the UK, where they were trying to push some kind of homosexual agenda on the kids, and all the Islamic parents stood up, and then the school backed down. So just an example, you know, I mean, stand up, right? It's time to stand up. Attacks on other religious sites, especially Jewish and Muslim properties, have also risen, but far fewer than those on Catholic churches because of their minority status. Protestants, who make up only 2% of the population, have seen few attacks on their churches, possibly because they lack many symbols distinct to Catholicism. Other factors also influence the Catholic Church's reaction. It doesn't want to start a campaign that might encourage its critics, priests say. With the clerical sexual abuse scandal regularly in the headlines, they add, the bishops are also in a weak position to appeal for sympathy. Yeah, that's true. Your sins came back to get you. And I'm not saying that in a gloating way. It's just a dang shame. With the clerical sexual abuse scandal regularly in the headlines, the bishops are also in a weak position to appeal for sympathy. Moreover, there are apparently several different motives behind these attacks. Some are pranks by youngsters, tempted to deface a local church, used mostly by older people in their town. With Sunday Mass attendance down to about 5% of all Catholics, many church buildings around the country do little more than mark the center of town. Church buildings, we've left the church age, too. That's a part of it as well. The fourth age, right? The fifth age now. Church buildings are being closed down or regrouped into larger parishes, which means they're often locked or empty for most of the week and an inviting target for vandals. Part of the population has not been socialized as Christians and does not realize what these attacks on the sacred can mean. All right. These vandals tear down crosses, scatter consecrated hosts, and smash statues to shock Catholics who consider these objects to be signs of their faith. According to Catholic doctrine, hosts of unleavened bread literally become the body of Jesus himself at the Mass. Consecrated but unused hosts are stored for future use, so breaking into the tabernacle, holding them, and scattering them on the floor ranks among the highest of sacrileges. The church I grew up in, we would eat a little piece of a cracker and drink a little bitty cup of grape juice. That's what we used to do. It's a cracker and grape juice. The cracker and the grape juice. I never felt any closer to God when I did that when I was in church. That's just me. I told my parents many years ago, I really believe I found God when I left the church. And that's me. And some of you know my story. I've been through all kinds of denominations. I was always a seeker, even before I was awake to the stuff I do now. And finally came back to where it's just the simplicity of a real relationship with Jesus. Hey, and with God. And now Chubbs is over here. Hey, come on, go. He just came over here and literally pulled the cable, my cable, out of my computer. And now he's chewing on it. Hold on. Get down. Hold on. Hey. Hey. Go. Go. I told you he's a little jerk. I'm not even kidding. I mean, this is what he does. He's so used to just it being me and him usually around here that if I'm focused on anything else other than him, he becomes a real baby about it. So I just had to push him off the couch and replug in the computer. I'm not even kidding. I should start trying to record some of this, but it's hard to do while I'm doing the show. But just so you can see what a little jerk this guy can be sometimes. Anyway, this one here, Eric Holder, suspect in Nipsey Hussle shooting is arrested. Eric Holder was also a Barack Obama's good friend, and I think he's the Attorney General as well under Obama for quite a while. And he's got plenty of his own little scandals as well. Eric Holder. But Eric Holder is also the name of the guy that they believe is the suspect, the guy that shot the rap artist Nipsey Hussle. You heard about this? As soon as I saw this, especially when I believe maybe it's not in here. Let's see. But Nipsey Hussle was 33 as well. There's a lot of stories out there with, again, Nipsey Hussle, 33, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they put his age in here or not. Not seeing it here, but Nipsey Hussle, the rap artist, was 33 years old. So as soon as I saw that story popping out, Nipsey Hussle, rap artist, 33, shot dead, I knew we would see tons of videos on YouTube of, Nipsey Hussle, Illuminati sacrifice? Question mark? Huh? Mm-hmm. Maybe. Huh? I don't like to just jump right there on that because, most of the time those are just speculation anyway. It's all we can do is speculate. There are interesting things around the case. They're trying to connect him to a documentary he was doing on Dr. Sebi, S-E-B-I, who pushed a diet kind of like what I'm on, all plant-based, but also he was big into herbs, pushed a lot of herbs. He was an herbal doctor. The mainstream I've noticed lately is trying to connect this to Sebi somehow. I don't know. And I don't trust the mainstream anyway, but that's what I've been seeing. I just thought it was interesting. You do have the 33, and then you've got Eric Holder as the name of the suspect, who also happened to be one of Obama's right-hand men and even Attorney General at one point. So I don't know what it means. Again, with the 33 and the Eric Holder, could this be a coded message to another group of people, a small group of people that understand it? In a way we don't. I wonder about this with these 33 stories. Nipsey Hussle. You can just shut your mouth right now, sir. You're being a jerk. There we go. There was a couple of them, but yeah, here we go. LA rapper Nipsey Hussle dead 33. Nipsey Hussle dead at 33. Nipsey Hussle shot dead 33. There's your 33s. So, there may be something to it, but this is, to me, as I watch these stories unfold, we'll see what else comes out. It could very well be some kind of coded situation for a group of people, something that none of us will ever really understand. But of course, people will make videos on it. Illuminati sacrifice? Question mark? Nipsey Hussle? It's going to happen. It'll happen. Yeah, here's the other story I was going to show you about. This is nuts. Just know that this the child's okay, but I'm going to show you this. This is pretty wild. I'm not even sure if they'll show it on this. Let's see.
A car speeding across a lawn over a hit and run That was caught on camera. The car speeding across a lawn and hitting a young girl, leaving her with serious injuries. This happened just outside of Atlanta. Steve Osinsami is there and has the latest. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning to you, Robin. The DeKalb County Police who've been handling this case have not spoken out about it publicly for some reason. It is possible that the two people inside the car are minors. The pictures are graphic. We have edited the video. This was the terrifying moment caught on camera. The family who lives in this suburban Atlanta home says it hopes police find and arrest the driver who hit a 9-year-old girl before crashing into the house. Moments before the crash, a home security camera captures two young girls playing in the front yard before a black sedan jumps the curb, blows a stop sign, and then barrels towards the girls. Dust and debris fill the air after the car strikes the girl, blows a stop sign, and then...
I mean, just that image alone is just crazy to me, man. Think about that. Here's two little kids. They're in their front yard. Safest place ever to child, right? Their home, their front yard. Two little kids out here just having a good time playing. And then from out of nowhere, man, this right here comes at you. Look at this. That's the moment right there. We're seconds away from this little girl's life changing forever. Seconds away. In just a few seconds, this child's life changes forever. Thank God she's okay. She suffered some broken bones and whatnot, but she's okay. But just blows me away when I see stuff like this, man. We did a story a while back about two obese rednecks with shotguns, and they were arguing with a neighbor, and they were both had their shirts off. Remember that? These knuckleheads went out there with their shirts off, with the shotguns over their shoulders, arguing with a neighbor. And then I paused it right there too, just seconds before they shot, because they killed their neighbor. They killed their neighbor, and both those guys went to jail and just destroyed tons of lives. You know, it's just seconds before people make these decisions or these things happen that alter people's lives forever. Anyway, so good thing she's okay, right? It's insane. There's the kid. There's that. Crazy. So I was going to save up all these 5G stories and do a massive video, but I probably still will, because I'm always watching 5G. I did a big video on it a while back, which has gone pretty viral, which is nice to see, because I showed a lot of proof in there that 5G is dangerous. But we're getting a lot more 5G stories out now. Actually, let me see here. I wanted to show you something else before I showed you this one, I believe. I'll just play this out. It's okay. We'll do this one. But there's another story that connects to this, and it's a very interesting point to be made there. But just check this out. Verizon turns on its 5G networks. This is in America. It's in Chicago and in Minneapolis a week early. Now, there's another story I have that'll connect to this. When I get to it, I'll explain. But just important to understand. Verizon kicks on 5G networks in Chicago and Minneapolis a week early. But just last week, wasn't it? We had a story from somewhere overseas. I can't remember which country, but they had their 5G on, and about 100 birds fell from the sky. I don't know if you remember that or not. Got somebody calling me here. All right, there we go. Let's see what we got here. The world may not have seemed to have changed much between today and yesterday, but rest assured that something earth-shattering has occurred in the world of mobile tech. Verizon has officially flipped the switch and turned on 5G network access in Chicago and Minneapolis a full week ahead of schedule. Verizon's 5G network was due to come to life on April 11th, alongside the launch of Motorola's 5G Moto Mod and the Moto Z3, or for the Moto Z3. However, for an unknown reason, I wonder why. I do wonder why. However, for an unknown reason, Verizon has decided to start the 5G revolution. 5G revolution, they're calling it, a week early, turning on 5G access in selected parts of Chicago and Minneapolis. You're getting the test, guys, in Chicago and Minneapolis. They're testing it on you. So let's really watch and see what happens and see if anything's strange. Remember, we had that school, too. There's a school that had one of those towers taken down because like 4 kids in less than a year came up with cancer. Is that not enough proof For an unknown reason, though, Verizon has decided to go and start the 5G revolution a week early, turning on 5G access in parts of Chicago and Minneapolis. Let's see what happens. Huh? Anyway, I'll find that other story here in a second that connects to this. We'll just make our way through here. Authorities threatened to take autistic son from parents after they object to, quote, sex change. Leeds, United Kingdom. And hello to our friends over there, United Kingdom. We actually have quite a few listeners from there, I've found. So hi, guys and gals. Thanks so much for tuning in. Leeds, United Kingdom, March 19th, 2019. UK authorities threatened to take an autistic teenage boy from his parents when they objected to doctors prescribing him hormones to facilitate him transitioning into a girl. Physicians at Leeds Tavistock. Tavistock. Do you know about Tavistock? I need to do a video on Tavistock sometime. I will. It's been a long time since I've even really talked much about it. The Tavistock Institute. Anyway, physicians at Leeds Tavistock Clinic, which is authorized by the National Health Service to deal with minors experiencing gender dysphoria, recommended that the boy be given puberty blockers. Good Lord. Not the kids. Not the kids, guys, to be given puberty blockers, messing with God's natural way to delay his physical development because he believed that he is female. Fearing the effects of the medications, his parents stopped taking him to the clinic after concluding that his decision to begin transitioning to, quote, female was related to his autism. According to the Daily Mail, once the boy informed school authorities that his parents had barred him from going ahead with his plans, a teacher told on them. A teacher told his parents that they should honor his wishes or he would be placed in foster care. Oh, boy. Because that's what the beast system wants, right? This is what the system wants for your children. The teacher told his parents that they should honor his wishes or he would be placed in foster care. Because the state knows better than the parents anyway, right? Additionally, school authorities charged that the parents were emotionally abusive for refusing the so-called sex change for their son, reporting them to social services. Tattletale. Tattletale, tattletale. Snitches get stitches. Reporting them to social services. 6 months later, social workers decided he could suffer, quote, significant harm by living with his mom and dad and put him under a child protection plan. Once a family friend was placed in the home, authorities ended the protection plan. Oh, gosh. The mother told the Daily Mail that the ordeal nearly broke her family. She told the newspaper, "I'm absolutely devastated. When I saw the report that social services wrote about us and saw the words emotional abuse, I just broke down." The mother said she and her husband wanted their son to think about his actions, worrying that should he undergo a surgical sex change, he may eventually realize he made a mistake. And that's a totally valid point, right? We've discussed that on here. Had the interview with our friend Elle a while back as well, and she went through this whole thing in real life. LifeSite News has reported in the past that minors have been placed in foster care in the UK when their parents refuse to go along with their sex change therapy. Even while there has been an increase of minors demanding gender transitioning in both the US and UK, resistance to transgenderism may be growing. Well, that's good. Resistance to tampering with God's creation, right? Britain's Minister for Women and Equality's Penny Mordaunt asked for an inquiry last year into why there has been a 4,400% increase. Whoa, wait, what? Wait, what? Okay, let me read this slowly for myself. Penny Mordaunt asked for an inquiry last year into why there has been a 4,400% increase in girls being referred for transitioning services in the past decade. It's that Baphomet beast system, right? This is all the conditioning. It's why we see it in all of our movies and our TV shows and the commercials. Penny Mordaunt asked for an inquiry last year into why there has been a 4,400 high. That's stellar. 4,400% increase in girls being referred for transitioning services in the past decade. It's huge. According to a report in the Financial Times, British officials were to examine the role of social media, and the teaching of transgenderism in schools. There it is. British officials were to examine the role of social media and the teaching of transgenderism in schools. Some members of parliament are concerned that hormones are offered too readily to children as young as 10 without understanding their reasons for questioning their biological sex. Parents are also stepping up to oppose the alarming trend. Good. Time to step up. I love seeing that. Good parents. Step up, guys. It's time to fight. They're your kids. They're not the state's. The state doesn't believe that, but time to fight. Fourth Wave Now is a website dedicated to discussing transgenderism and offering a forum for those who have transitioned out of transgenderism. According to the website, it was started by the mother of a teenage girl who suddenly announced she was a trans man after watching weeks of YouTube videos and accessing blogs advocating transgenderism. The girl eventually, quote, desisted from identifying as transgender, according to the site. Fourth Wave Now. Good. Sounds like a good site, a good sort. I've never been there. But if those of you listening, if this applies to you or anybody in your life, maybe check out Fourth Wave Now. Sounds like they're doing some work there. Some good work. There you go. There you go. Okay, that's a side story. Let's jump over here and just start bouncing in the middle and see what we come up with here. Well, again, they're constantly, here in America, there's just, especially the universities, constantly pushing this idea that America sucks, that we're terrible, we're a horrible country. And we see this here. George Washington University students vote to scrap their mascot, George Washington, the guy they named the university after. George the Colonial was forced out over baseless allegations of non-inclusiveness. A private university in Washington, D.C. is doing away with its mascot due to concerns about its inclusivity. The George Washington University student body voted Thursday to remove and replace its mascot, George the Colonial. He was obviously meant to depict a Revolutionary War general and the first president of the United States, George Washington, but a small minority of students at the university worried that the mascot was not sufficiently progressive, presumably due to the fact that Washington was a white man who owned slaves. Despite founding the greatest nation in the history of the planet, Washington's fatal flaw was that he existed as an ordinary white male of his time. The original push to change the mascot started last spring with an online petition which garnered over 500 signatures, according to the report. Ashley Lee, who served as GW Student Association president at the time, encouraged university administrators to listen to the students' concerns on the matter. The total number of signatories at the petition has amounted to less than 2% of the GW student body. So just less than 2%. Again, this is where our world is. It's so worried and focused on the smallest minorities of our culture and our world, like homosexuality, right? 2% or less of the population. Transgenderism, 2% or less. But you watch a movie or a TV show and it makes you think it's more like 80% out there, right? Like it's totally normalized in media. This is really crazy footage. Some of y'all may have seen this. I'm not sure. But, oh no, not you. Washington Post is one of those. See, it's like, you want to unblock ads? Try a month for $1. No, thanks. I just wanted to see this. Malaysia water spout. Just watch a quick vid of this. It's pretty cool, man. I feel like you're almost seeing God's hand at work with this in a way. You'll see what I mean. All right, let's do that. Here we go. Here we go. Check this out. Man, that's not even a very good example. Like they're running this in slow motion or something. I don't want to just keep going off track because, you know, it takes forever sometimes to find some of these here. There we go. This finally. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it didn't even play the footage. What a weasel. Thanks, Eric, or whoever did this, Eric Desmet. But if you watch the full footage, you'll actually see the waterspout moving right towards the city and then quickly dissipating. It's pretty amazing. Thanks, Washington Post. Oh, well, this happens from time to time. It's a live show. I thought this was pretty cute. Why does the baby monitor keep going off? A little bit of a doom break here for you. I'll blow this up a little bit and we can get a better picture of it here. Why does the baby monitor keep going off is the question. It's a big doggy right there. The doggy needs a blanket. So does the baby. Any of you have kids sleep with their doggies like this? I mean, a cat's one thing. They usually stay out of the way. You take care of them. They smell nice. I make sure Chubbs smells nice. And he likes to sleep right on top of my head a lot of the time, like right on the pillow. Anyway, there you go. She's tucking in her little pup. The dog loves it, just laying there. He doesn't care. Ah, pets, animals. They just make life better, don't they? They're actually talking about head transplants. Have you heard of this? Here's another one. Crap. Let's see if we can work through this one. I'll allow ads. Maybe, let's see here. Pause on this site. There you go. Continue. All right, there we go. I just paused it on this site, my ad blocker. Head transplant doctors Xiaoping Ren and Sergio Canavero claim spinal cord progress. Surgeons from China and Italy claimed that 2 studies published Wednesday add evidence to their ability to treat irreversible spinal cord injuries and a related controversial aspiration to perform the world's first human head transplant. The doctors said that New York published in a scientific journal showed that monkeys and dogs were able to walk again after their spinal cords were fully transected during surgery and then put back together again. The neurosurgeons described the results as medically unprecedented. The highly experimental procedures took place at Harbin Medical University in Chicago. Both studies were supported by video evidence and published in Surgical Neurology International. I've covered this one right here for a while. This story won't go away, but I think it's fascinating. It's going to be really interesting to see what they can do. They've already been able to do it with animals. Can you imagine what it'll be like when they can literally transplant a head on a new body? Wow. Wow. I guess we shall see. Living in a science fiction movie. This one's really kind of a creeper. It's kind of one of our creepy stories. Michigan couple says they caught a ghost on nanny cam after finding scratches on the baby's face. Michigan couple is looking for a new home after they say they captured nanny cam footage of a ghost in their 1-year-old daughter's room and mysterious scratches on her face. Joshua Higgins, 30, and Heather Brow, 25, said they believe their Highland, Michigan home is haunted. See, they're playing a video here. Oh, well. They said they believe their Highland, Michigan home is haunted after they saw footage of what they believe to be a ghostly figure wandering around their daughter, Lily Higgins' crib. In the video, Lily suddenly stands up and looks around as The figure appears to walk across one side of the room. It was chilling, Higgins told WXYZ. It was literally a chill down your spine, like that what-if factor. Is this what I just saw? The couple decided to check the footage after they found unexplained scratches on Lily's face. The mother said that she had just woke Lily from a nap when she spotted the deep purple scratches on the baby's cheek. The ghost, quote, ghost, gave the baby purple scratches on their cheek. It's a cute baby. Seeing Lily's face with the scratches was so bizarre and frightening, Prowse said. I was crying. What happened to you? I grabbed her jacket and ran over to my mother-in-law's house. Nobody knew what happened. We wondered if she'd scratched herself, but when we put her hands up to the scratches, it did not match up. This is not the first strange occurrence at the home, though. Bro said, I want to call her Bro. I don't know if that's how you say it or not. Bro said she has heard an angry male voice, quote unquote, screaming and laughing. She recalled at least once hearing footsteps up and down the stairs as she took a shower. It scares us that it could do something else, she said. I mean, there was a morning I woke up and I felt like someone's hands were around my neck. Wow, look at those scratches on the baby. See that picture? That's vicious. Bro and Higgins live in a guest house owned by Higgins' mother, Chris. Chris, who lives in the main house nearby, said an investigator has determined there's paranormal activity in her home, but she said she doesn't know what could have caused the incidents in the guest home. I was told when we bought the house 11 years ago that the lady who owned the property died in the main house. It's an old farmhouse, and according to her niece, she fell down the stairs, broke her hips, and laid there for a very long time before she passed away. She said that the guest house was built for the lady's brother, who was schizophrenic. Okay. However, Higgins' father, Jim Higgins, told WXYZ that a man who lived at the home originally died after jumping out of a window. Okay, well, there's a lot of things adding up here that could create portals for spiritual activity, right? Bad spiritual activity. Although it's unclear who may be haunting the home, the couple said one thing's for certain, they're moving out. This has made us want to leave as soon as possible. As soon as possible, we're out. This is a spirit. I don't know what its intentions are, but at this point, it's becoming physically harmful. That's some of the scariest stuff I ever run across is when the spirits start hurting people and touching people and leaving scratches on them. That's creepy, especially with the baby, right? Little baby getting hurt. Minority Report style Mark of the Beast clear human tracking system gets installed at Detroit Airport. Metro Detroit Airport now has a new way to allow people to move seamlessly through airport security. It's called Clear, and it's now in operation at the airport's McNamara terminal. Certified as a qualified anti-terrorism technology. Oh, great. By the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, which was totally created after 9/11. You don't think that's a coincidence? The largest branch of the federal government in America, Department of Homeland Security, was created right after 9/11. All a part of the plan, right? Clear has been used more than 5 million times to move travelers quickly through airport security lines at least 16 other airports. They validate their identity using a knowledge-based quiz. They use a government identification that's validated using technology, and then we link it to their biometrics. Yeah, this really is Minority Report. We take 10 fingerprints with a digital reader. We take a scan of their iris, and we take a high-res photo of their face. All that information they're getting, right? Right out of Minority Report. And this is that predictive programming and imprinting that happens with media, entertainment media. Cohen said the initial sign-up process takes about 5 minutes, and after that, getting through security lines should be a breeze. So now you got a choice. If you don't want to get groped, if you don't want a 40-year-old man touching your 5-year-old's balls, I'm sorry, I know it's rude, but, you know, they do this. If you don't want this, you don't want a 40-year-old man or woman, touching your child's underdeveloped boobies, and every other area on them. Hey, you could take this little sign-up process, takes about 5 minutes, and after that, you're going to get through security lines. It's going to be a breeze. I mean, all right. No one's got to get groped. Okay? How's that sound? The government's going to have a lot of information on you now. May not matter for a year or two or a long time, but one of these days I can come back and get you. That's why I will never send my DNA out anywhere for any purpose. That's just me. I'm very much against paying money to get and sending my DNA to some random company. And now we find out all these companies are working with the government and law enforcement. You said there's special lines for clear customers that can be a great time saver for travelers who will still have to pass through x-rays and body scans. Oh, so you still get to go through that. Okay, so you're going to still get radiated and have all your information in the government, but at least you won't have a 40-year-old man grabbing your 5-year-old's balls. I know, I'm sorry. I know that's a little lewd, okay? But it's the truth. They do this kind of stuff. We've seen the videos. And they really like to take special extra time on handicapped kids. Seen some of these videos of the handicapped children getting groped? Yeah. Go. Homeland Security. It's for the homeland. It's what they used to call Nazi Germany, the homeland. It's for the homeland. Go back to the Batcave. Man dressed as Batman is turned away by police in British Columbia after offering them his help. Wow, look at that. Look at that. I don't even know what to think about that. I'm not seeing any story here. I'm not seeing any words. That's it. Okay. That's all I need to know, I guess. Go back to the Batcave. Man dressed as Batman is turned away by police in British Columbia after offering them his help. So crazy. That's even from the Batman movies. I think it was the second one, right? Like the one with the Joker, the Dark Knight, where Batman had to deal with all these other goobers putting on bat suits and going out and pretending to be him, trying to fight crime. Anyway, here you go. Oh, here you go. This is weird. The realistic-looking comic book superhero appeared to have traded in his usual Batmobile for a pickup truck, but there was no mistaking who he had come to help. The local police force in Kelowna, British Columbia. Wow. The fearless fighter was caught on camera by a fellow motorist who managed to capture the humiliating turnaround after being told to return to the Batcave. Batman was seen walking back across the street to his car looking rather sullen and rejected, his cape not flowing quite as majestically as usual. If he'd have listened to his police scanner, he would have realized the police were responding to a domestic incident and likely didn't need his help. Upon approaching the armed Kelowna officers during the incident to offer them assistance, cops assured him they had it under control. Hey, the Bat Truck. Check that out. Oh, well, the pictures aren't very good. A police spokesman told local media, situations like this are dynamic and subject to change very quickly. They do always say domestic violence calls for police are the most dangerous. The presence of Batman or anyone else is unwanted distraction and foolish as they are placing themselves at risk. The Bat Truck. All right, that's it. That's the story. The Bat Truck. Oh, we got a little, here's a good little break. We've been on for about an hour, so this will give me a chance to refill my tea. And we can watch some of this here. Here's one I didn't post for the week, but have you heard about Alex Jones' deposition? There's a law firm that has a YouTube channel, and it's like 3 or 4 hours long, this deposition about the Sandy Hook stuff with Alex Jones. I don't know if you heard about this or not. And I thought it was fascinating. I had it on in the background listening to it while I was doing other things the other day. Very interesting. Very interesting. Long. Said it's like 2 parts, 4 or 5 hours. But anyway, and now we got this. Now, this video was edited. They didn't show the beginning. Alex was at this restaurant apparently and started getting heckled by a group of people at this restaurant in Austin. And then he just kind of loses his stuff and goes off on them. So we'll watch a little bit of this together. It is interesting. And Alex Jones, you know, how the mighty have fallen. I always have such conflicting feelings with him. I owe him a huge debt of gratitude for completely prying my eyes open to the New World Order and all that, really. It was his work that first got me started making the scariest movie ever made over 10 years ago now. So he was my introduction. But then as years went on, something changed. You know, maybe he got too big, maybe selling too many products, maybe he got compromised. Also, the whole thing with him just freaking out too much, you know, like we've learned with my style, and there's other people out there as well. We don't have to freak out and be banging tables to talk about the stuff that's happening in the world. That only brings up people's blood pressure, freaks people out, you know. And I also understand righteous anger and all that too. But I mean, just, you know, I understand that in moderation. But so Alex Jones is just quite the interesting character. And the way they depersoned him, I mean, they deperson people. They can deperson us. They completely remove you off of the internet and any traces of you, right? I mean, he's still there in some spots here and there, but wow. I mean, they really did a number on this guy. And you know, I'm sure in the, like, karmically, if you will, there's some other ways, just, you know, with the energy, frequencies, etc., things we put out that come back to us. You know, he called some of this onto himself, you know, I'm sure. But anyway, just check this out and, you know, see what you think about it. Here he is fighting with some of these people who are mocking and ridiculing him here in this restaurant in Austin, Texas. This just happened a few days ago.
Getting in my face makes me feel bad. These people are all sick of your shit. They're Americans. They're not traitors or scum like you. Trying to work hand in life. See that big fat stupid slob? You think your ridicule matters to me? You're a follower, you're not a leader.
Hey, what do you do?
What doing your plan, boy? You ain't tough.
What do you do, Alex?
Yo, I'm a fucking anarchist, bro. Come on.
What do you do, Alex?
No, you're the one acting all powerful, huh? You're the one telling people eat shit. You ain't nothing, boy. I know, shit. I was already leaving. Go back to your apology. Yeah, my apology. You've never been more successful. Oh, you support censorship? You're not an American? Look at this guy. All of them getting in my face. I'm telling you, he's the one getting in my face. Dude, you ain't an American. You're a slob. We never would have founded the country with big ass wimps like you. No, you're the one who wants to run your fat lip-tard mouth.
Everybody calm down.
Look at you over here. It's the real world right here. You guys are all pissed because you got extra chromosomes. I get it. Woo! See, this isn't the internet. This is the real dimension. Woo! So you libtards don't like free speech in America. That's good. So you got it? Don't listen to your NPR and all your other bullshit. Yeah. Rile them up. America in the world is a waste to anti-free speech scum like you and bullies like you. You know the good thing about you guys, though? You've all got an instinct not to breed. Your body rebels against you. None of you have kids. That's right. Well, you know what? They're all going to rebel against you. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Why don't you leave some other shithole state to come here and crap on Texas and turn it into a horror? Yeah, I bet you are. What you are is a punk. You told me to get out of here, man. You told me to get out of here. I know it's, hey, you're a big man. You're a big man. You said to me. You're a big man, punk. You're a big man, punk. What you are is a coward. Hey, come on now. This guy's starting to fight right here. It's a pretty good show.
Free speech, Subway, keep it moving.
You guys think you conquered America? You failed.
There you go. I wanted to play a little bit of that out. I mean, what do you think about that, man? What are your thoughts? I mean, perhaps it's a man that's completely losing it at this point. I'm not sure, but I mean, I can't even really blame him. He's lost so much, you know? Some of his reporters I really liked over the years, and I still like some of these guys. David Knight's one of them. He put together a really good team there throughout the years, but a lot of them left. Aaron and Melissa Dykes, I think their name is. Aaron and Melissa Dykes, I think. But, you know, they were a team that used to report for InfoWars. They met on the show, fell in love, and, you know, now they're together. I think they're married now. Well, yeah, obviously, if it's Aaron and Melissa Dykes. But, yeah, they're married now, and they have their own channel, Truth Stream Media, which I'm subscribed to. It's one of the few truth channels I'm subscribed to. I really like what they do. But anyway, I don't know, man. But what they did to him, too, is just a warning to the rest of us as well. You know, they can deperson people now. They can completely take you away, you know, off the internet. It's a trip. It's a trip. Venezuela returns to the Middle Ages during power outages. Caracas, walking for hours, making oil lamps bearing water. For Venezuelans today suffering under a new nationwide blackout that has lasted days, it's like being thrown back to life centuries ago. El Villa, a mountain that towers over Caracas, has become a place where families gather with buckets and jugs to fill up with water, wash dishes, and scrub clothes. The taps in their homes are dry from lack of electricity to the city's water pumps. We're forced to get water from sources that obviously aren't completely hygienic, but it's enough for washing or doing the dishes, said one resident. Because of the long lines of people, the activity can take hours of waiting. Elsewhere, locals make use of cracked water pipes, but they still need to boil the water or otherwise purify it. We're going to bed without washing ourselves, said one man. Pedro Jose, a 30-year-old living in a poorer neighborhood. Some shops, seeing an opportunity, have hiked the prices of bottles of water and bags of ice to between $3 and $5. A fortune in a country where the monthly minimum salary is the equivalent of $5.50. Did you hear that? The monthly minimum salary, monthly, is the equivalent of $5.50. Better off Venezuelans, those with access to U.S. dollars, have rushed to fill hotels that have giant generators and working restaurants. For others, preserving fresh food is a challenge. Finding it is even more difficult. The blackout has forced most shops to close. We share food among family members and friends, explained Coral Munoz, who counts herself lucky to have some dollars. You have to keep a level head to put up with all this and to try to have people around because being alone makes it harder. For Kevin Donaire, who lives in the poor Patar district, survival is complicated. He walks for more than an hour to the bakery where he works in the upmarket. At least I'm able to take a loaf of bread back home, he says. Many inhabitants have taken to salting meat to preserve it without working refrigerators. Others, more desperate, scour trash cans for food scraps. Well, the Venezuelans really need our prayers, man, if anybody out there in any country, and they really need some help. They are hurt most by having to live in a country where basic food and medicine has become scarce and out of reach because of rocketing hyperinflation. It's also a lesson about socialism here. The latest blackout this week also knocked out communications. According to NetBlocks, an organization monitoring telecom networks, 85% of Venezuela has lost connection. People need to eat. In stores, cash registers no longer work and electronic payment terminals are blanked out. That's serious in Venezuela, where even bread is bought by card because of lack of cash. Some clients, trusted ones, are able to leave without or with written IOUs. People need to eat. We let them take food and they will pay us when bank transfers come back, explained a shop owner. Underneath an office block of Digitel, one of the main cell phone companies, dozens of people stand around trying to get a signal. I'm trying to get connected to get news on this chaotic episode we're going through, said one man. With Caracas' subway shut down, getting around the city is a trial, with choices between walking for miles, lining up in the outsized hope of getting on one of the rare and badly overcrowded, dilapidated buses, or managing to get fuel for a vehicle. Pedro Jose said bus tickets have nearly doubled in price. Man, they're just like bleeding their people dry too, right? A ticket used to cost $100 bolivares, or 3 U.S. cents, and now it's 45 cents, he raged. As night casts Caracas into darkness, families light their homes as best they can. We make lamps that burn gasoline or oil or kerosene, any type of fuel, explained Elizabeth Morin. We've returned to the Middle Ages. Wow. We hope and pray that never happens in America. It's terrible. Like The Walking Dead. This one's pretty funny. Another bit of a doom break, if you will. I think we can get a video here. Let's see. It's popping up. Here we go. All right, let's watch this. So this is a road rage incident here from the driver's perspective. And wait till you see this.
Смысл меня подрезал? Не понял вообще. Ты как ездишь? Чё хочу? Извините, извините. Да, что ли? А? В смысле, это свои были?
I would run too. Here we go.
Смысл меня подрезал? Смысл меня подрезал? Не понял вообще. Ты как ездишь? Чё хочу? Извините, извините.
Okay, bye. Have a nice day. There you go. And that'll probably be the last time that guy ever road rages again. Hopefully. Finally, here's the story I wanted to show you that connects to the other story about how here in America they're launching 5G. No one knows why, a week early. Under mysterious circumstances, they even said. So as that's happening in America, 3 days ago, Brussels becomes the first major city to halt 5G due to health effects. So they're halting it in another country due to health effects, but in America, they're going to start it up a week early. Does that seem weird to you? Seems weird to me. Great news. A Belgian government minister has announced that Brussels is halting its 5G plans due to health effects. The statement was made by Celine Vermalt, the minister of the government of the Brussels capital region responsible for housing, quality of life, etc. I cannot welcome such technology if the radiation standards which must protect the citizen are not respected, 5G or not. The people of Brussels are not guinea pigs whose health I can sell at profit. We cannot leave anything to doubt. I love it. That's great. Ms. Vermalt accurately identified that a 5G pilot project is not compatible with Belgian radiation safety standards and stated that she does not intend to make an exception. There's almost no question that a 5G world would place us all under an unprecedented level of surveillance and control, granting unheard of powers to soulless corporate algorithms. That should be enough to permanently delete the agenda right there, filed under useful technology gone bad. Though perhaps an even bigger question for our time is, does 5G pose a major threat to all biological life? The independent evidence overwhelmingly indicates that it does. The talking heads of the wireless industry even brashly admit, when forced in a U.S. Senate hearing, that they have not done any safety studies and they don't plan to. Guys, this is trouble. Like I said, I've done a video on 5G. Others have as well. I'm grateful mine went viral. Plenty of proof in there about how this is dangerous for humanity. I know other people are out there putting out their 5G videos as well, and it's good. You got to wake them up. Wake the people up. So they're shutting it down in Brussels, and they started a week early in America. But there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to worry about. Everything's going to be just fine. At least you're going to be able to upload your videos quicker and that's okay. You may wind up turning into some kind of a mutated creature, but at least you can watch your movies without any delays. Maryland's red flag law turns deadly. Officer kills man who refused to turn in gun. Here we go. Here we go. Let's check this out.
Comes as all officers try to enforce the state's new red flag law, potentially dangerous people with guns. WJZ is live at police involved shooting in Anne Arundel County. It comes as officers try to enforce the state's new red flag law, potentially dangerous people with guns. WJZ is live at the scene in Ferndale. Kimberly Eaton with what police say happened. Kimberly.
And Vic, earlier tonight, police left this Ferndale neighborhood nearly 12 hours after officers first showed up to remove guns from a home and ended up shooting and killing the gun owner. Flashing red and blue lights cut through the rain in this Ferndale neighborhood Monday afternoon. Police now guarding the street where their attempt to enforce the new red flag law turned fatal hours earlier. Around 5:15 in the morning, Anne Arundel County police say they came to a home on Linwood Avenue near Broadview Boulevard to take weapons from 60-year-old Gary Willis. They say two officers knocked on the door and Willis answered, armed with a handgun. Sergeant Jacqueline Davis says at first he put the gun down and stepped outside to talk with police.
He was fine with the officers until they told him, hey, we're serving you with this order, and this order orders us from the court to take your guns.
At that point, she says Willis went for his gun. One of the officers tried to grab it out of his hand, and Willis pulled the trigger. That bullet didn't hit anyone, but it prompted the other officer to open fire, shooting and killing the gun owner. It's a deadly beginning to a law that's barely a month old and that Anne Arundel County police have only had to enforce 9 times so far, following court orders to remove guns from owners who reportedly may be a danger to themselves or others.
These are particularly dangerous because not only do we know there's weapons involved, we're also taking the weapons.
In this case, it led to gunfire before dawn on this otherwise quiet street. Justin Ralston moved in down the block a year ago, now surprised to see a full-on investigation where neighbors tell him crime just doesn't happen.
He lived for I don't know how many, 20-some years. He's never had anything stolen, you know. It's just quiet neighborhood and everything.
And in this case, it's not clear who asked for the protective order to remove the weapon. For now, reporting.
So this is a very important story, I believe, because this is a real big sign and signal of other dangers to come, especially for law enforcement that are going to be getting these orders from the courts to go take guns away from people that they deem, may be dangerous, for whatever reason, right? Whatever reason. It's called the red flag law. So the courts will determine, for whatever reason, civilians, certain civilians may be dangerous or might harm themselves, right? So the police come to their house and they have a court order and they want to take all their guns away. And this is how this ends, right? This is how this situation ends. And I really hate to think about it, but I imagine this is just a drop in the bucket of what it's really going to look like if they continue doing things like this, or they elevate it, and it becomes more intense, maybe more nationwide or whatever. I can just imagine that we may be seeing a lot more of this. I wouldn't want that. I don't want the violence. But anyway, it's important to put out there. This story is a few months older, but I had never seen it. It's from November of 2018. I stumbled on it this week, thought it was very important to put out there. Because I haven't heard a whole lot more about this red flag program, so maybe they slowed it down a little bit. I'm not sure. Excuse me. This one right here. Shorty gets knocked out by a dude for trying to tase him during another fight popping off. We'll watch a little bit of this here. So apparently the two people in yellow work at this store. The young lady in red, for some reason, I'm not sure why, wants to fight the little girl. And we'll play it out a little bit and see what happens here.
I'm going to sleep this.
Instead of intervening, right, and trying to stop it, I'm going to go see this. I need to film it. World star. Right. The girl in black there, in the black shirt right here on camera, pulled a taser out. You see that? She ran up on that guy.
Kim, oh my God, get up, Kim, get up, Kim. Oh my God, Kim. Oh my God, Kim. Oh my God, Kim. Kim. Oh my God. You better hit him, cause he just hit the fuck out of Kim, man.
I'll stop it there. The rest of it's just kind of a bunch of cussing and yelling. But this is what happens when we do naughty things, when we rush to wickedness, right? People's feet rush into wickedness. Get your ass knocked out. Not everybody plays that game, and it's really unfortunate. That's where the world is again. Another issue we have out there is that some women out there, think that it's okay to be violent towards men because they know the system is totally in their corner. Like, if any man dare hit a woman, it's like, oh my gosh, right? And obviously it's wrong. Obviously, and a lot of us come from homes, broken homes. Maybe some of you come from abusive homes where you've seen this thing. Obviously, it's not a good idea to ever hit a woman. I don't believe that. But when you get a situation like this, the guy was defending himself, and that little girl learned a very important lesson, didn't she? She got laid out. So I don't say it's a good idea to hit women, but if you're defending yourself in a situation like that, I watch some of these true crime stories on Investigation Discovery, and I can't watch a whole lot of that stuff. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody to watch a whole lot of it. I've covered that too. It's the id channel. It's your id. It's trapped inside the box of Saturn. That's like the ID network. And it feeds your id, right? That's what it's doing. It's feeding all these negative, dark impulses and dark ideas. But the point is, a lot of these stories on there have to do with women who kill, like really evil women who have destroyed their families and killed their husbands and things like this. And a lot of times you'll see the husbands just let this stuff happen. They were like afraid to stand up to the woman. They were afraid to defend the kids, even to defend themselves, and they wind up getting killed by some of these crazy women out there. So I don't know. Makes you wonder, what would you do if you were a guy and you were getting chased by a girl with one of those zappers? Would you do anything you could to not get zapped, or would you try to be polite, and reason with her? I don't know. This one's very interesting. I'm watching this one closely. I'm curious to see how this plays out. Boy claiming to be Timothy Pitson told Kentucky women he'd been running for 2 hours. But there's more. The children in Newport, Kentucky are on spring break this week, so on Wednesday morning when Sharon Hall spotted a scrawny teen in a hooded sweatshirt loitering outside her home at 7:30 a.m., she thought something wasn't right. My first thought was, he's not from around here, Hall tells People, noting that boy seemed in a daze and she was worried he might try to break into her neighbor's car. Instead, the boy was looking for help. He approached a Nissan Murano idling on Columbia Street at the corner of West 8th Street and spoke to the 17-year-old driver behind the wheel, who was about to take the kids in the back seat to daycare. 17-year-old driver behind the wheel, who was about to take kids to daycare. Can you help me, the boy asked, identifying himself as Timothy Pitson, who went missing in 2011 when he was just 6 years old. He even provided the woman with his middle name. I just want to go home, he continued. Can you just please help me? Police were called to the neighborhood of Brick, two-family homes that date back to the 1960s, and 2 officers showed up to speak with the boy. I knew he wasn't from here. He just looked out of place, Hall says. When the police pushed his hood back, his face was dirty, she recalls. Wow, look at this name. Krekosifra Knight. Who names anybody? Krekosifra Knight. Krekosifra. Sounds like a villain. Krekosifra Knight, who lives next door to Hall, also noticed that when police removed the boy's hat, his dark hair was matted. Knight and Hall say they spoke to the boy before police arrived, and he told them he'd escaped 2 men who were holding him captive. Knight says the boy told her he crossed a bridge into Kentucky from Cincinnati, Ohio, where he'd been staying with the 2 men at a Red Roof Inn. He told us he'd been running for 2 hours, Knight tells people, adding the boy had bruises about his face and appeared malnourished. He looked like he'd been punched. At this point, the boy's identity has not been confirmed. The results of DNA testing are expected back today. And this is from April 4th, so this is new. A report from police in Sharonville, Ohio, states the boy also told responding officers he was Timothy Pitson and had been held by these 2 men. Timothy described the 2 kidnappers as 2 male whites, bodybuilder-type build. One had black curly hair, Mountain Dew shirt, and jeans, and has a spiderweb tattoo on his neck. The other was short in stature and had a snake tattoo on his arms. The boy reportedly told police he escaped the men and ran across the Taylor Southgate Bridge in Kentucky. The boy also told police the types of cars the men were driving and told them it had Wisconsin license plates. Hall tells people the boy in her neighborhood Wednesday morning looked more like the picture of Pitson at 6 than the age-progressed image released by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And there's the little boy, I guess. So we're going to watch this one closely, guys. There may even be an update right now, for all I know. So if you have any further information on this Pitson case, and if this truly is the boy, well, if it's a real story, this will be a mainstream story. We'll be hearing a lot more about it over the next few days, I've no doubt. So we'll see. It's one to watch, right? One to watch, eh? Here's a bit of a vid for us from Russia today. I think there's a video here. Iceberg collapses, sending tourists fleeing in jaw-dropping video. I'm not seeing. There it is. There's the video. Okay, let's check this out. Let's watch some of this. Is that the only video? Here it is. All right, check this out. See all the people there in front of us? Watch. Watch the wave. They better run. It looks like they may have made it. That's good. Look at those waves, man. There you go. Pretty wild, huh? Another YouTube. Let's see what we got here. Oh, I think this is the plane exploding in the sky. No, that's another one. That's coming up. This one here is the daughters of Europe speak out against the leaders of their country. You can look this one up. It doesn't got a whole lot of hits, it looks like here. But the daughters of Europe speak out against the leaders of their countries. They're speaking in their own native language, and there's just music in the background, so I'll just kind of play some of this out. But you know, a lot of these girls are stepping up because of what's been happening over there in Europe as far as the migrant invasion goes, right? been a major migrant invasion, they call it. It's another subject I'd covered on a recent video, is how it's part of the fall of empires, is flooding them with new cultures, flooding them, with thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, flooding countries with other cultures. And they're doing that in Europe right now, and all these women have been victims of crimes from some of these immigrants or migrants. And we're not really getting to hear their voice, right? Because the beast system wants this. It wants to collapse all borders in preparation for a one world system. So if you're interested and curious, look up the Daughters of Europe. Look up Daughters of Europe Speak Out. This is kind of an ad. All these young ladies, again, were victims, and they're speaking out here. So something I wanted to share. Do you have kids? And do your kids play Fortnite? I'm sure you've heard of, if you have a child between the ages of 8 and 18, I'm sure you've heard of Fortnite by now. It's like having a child addicted to drugs. Doctors warn that Fortnite has caused children to smash up cars, stop eating, and pushed parents to divorce. Health professionals have spoken out about the impact playing Fortnite has on children. Played by more than 200 million users, the cartoon multiplayer shooter game is costing children sleep, their schoolwork, and causing them to become violent. The latest installment of the popular video game Fortnite Battle Royale is seeing children drop out of social activities like playing sports. Behavioral specialists say that some children are even battling game addiction as a result from constantly playing the game. Michael Rich, a director of the Clinic for Interactive Media and Internet Disorders at Boston Children's Hospital, told the Boston Globe about its impact. He says, they're not sleeping, they're not going to school, they're dropping out of social activities. A lot of kids have stopped playing sports so they can do this. We have one kid who destroyed the family car because he thought his parents had locked his device inside of it. He actually took a hammer to the windshield. His account is just one of many that describe an obsession so intense that kids are seeing doctors and therapists to break the game's hold over their children. In some cases, teenagers are losing so much weight because they refuse to stop playing to eat that doctors initially think they have a physical disease. One of the parents will go to the point of almost considering a divorce, which Domenico, a therapist, says, it's similar to working with parents who have a child addicted to drugs. Parents fretting over their children spending too much time online isn't new, but there are significant factors that make these games harder to stop playing. Advances in the technology has made the games more interactive and more engaging with its flashy colors and the element of social interaction with other players. The psychological manipulation stimulates the brain and trains it to crave more, said Douglas Gentile, a psychology professor. The game makers also use shady tactics adopted by slot machine designers like a variable reward schedule, according to Ofer Terrell, a professor of information, blah, 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 a professor of something. A bunch of words we can't pronounce. Kids are especially vulnerable to this variable reward mechanism because their brains are still imbalanced, he explained. They have almost fully developed reward processing brain systems, but their self-control systems are not yet fully developed. The Epic Games Inc. creation is free to play, yet it has made at least $1.2 billion on the sale of the V-Bucks, which is in-game currency. More than 68% of players make in-game purchases like weapons, dance moves, and adornments to personalize their characters. The average player who makes purchases has spent $84, according to a 2018 survey. All right. Fortnite addiction. Do you have kids? Do they play Fortnite? Have you noticed anything crazy? Or here's a book I'm really curious about because I cannot stand The View, the TV show. I cannot stand The View. I did a video way back on them, way back years ago. It's symbolism in The View, like the very opening sequence. When you slow it down, they actually have the V turn upside down into a pyramid and the word empower underneath it perfectly. Like it's just a total little subliminal message in The View. I can't even remember what the name of that video was, but it's one of those things I saw years ago when I put up there. I don't want Joe to stop doing that. Whoopi Goldberg and the women of The View vouch for Joe Biden, saying they like his smelling of hair and kisses amid misconduct allegations from former lawmaker Lucy Flores. I think there's another View story coming up. This might not be the one I was thinking of, but isn't it funny how all these sick, leftist type women out there in media are vouching now? It's like, Kavanaugh, remember the Kavanaugh hearings? Total farce, total fake. They put up all these false allegations and charges and slandering the guy. But then you got a guy right here, Joe Biden, who we've seen be creepy, not just with women. They won't even touch the idea of what he does with the kids. I did a video over on my website about this probably a year ago, and all of the tune of a song from the band Ween. So if you like music videos, I do some music videos sometimes and put them up over on my website. But it was all about him creeping on the kidders, and of course these hags aren't talking about that. They're just talking about the women. It's like they won't touch this thing with the children. There's another story about the View coming up. We'll get to it in a second. I thought this was just nuts, something I wanted to share here. You ever seen a Komodo dragon in real life? Those things are so dangerous. They have a bacteria in their mouth. It's like a poison. If they bite you, you die. But Komodo Island is closing to tourists because people are stealing the dragons. Indonesia's famous Komodo Island, home of the Komodo dragon, will likely close to tourists after cops busted a ring of lizard smugglers last month. There's a picture of one of them. They're amazing creatures. They really are. I even had a video a while back of a Komodo dragon chasing somebody up a tree. You guys remember that? That was maybe over a year ago. These things are scary. Look at that. If ever there was a link to the dinosaurs, right? But people are stealing these things. These things are incredibly dangerous. Just wanted to share that. Okay, so this right here, now we're over back on Facebook. Okay, here's just a little something I was going to read you. This became a national news story. This is from a lady named Crystal Preston. She says, I have no words right now that can express how I'm feeling at this moment. I'm in complete shock. Last couple of weeks, I've literally been hell-filled with so many tears, anger, confusion, and heartache. I've had those weeks. Have you had those weeks? The last couple of weeks have literally been hell-filled with so many tears, anger, confusion, and heartache. Today, I got the shock of my life. As some of you may know, my son William, who's a lawnmower, yard cleaner, money-making machine. Well, my son had a job today that he had to go do, and so I allowed him to go, assuming it was like any other time. Well, this time was different, very different. William came home and said, Mom, I bought you a car. I, of course, laughed and told him, yeah, right. He said, no, Mom, I'm so serious. I bought you a car. Come on, we have to go. I'm at this point confused and skeptical and said, go where? He said, with this lady. Much to my surprise, I go in my front yard and, oh my gosh, there's a woman standing there. And as William said, she was giving us a ride. William jumps in the car, so I'm like, okay, some kind of joke, right? No one speaks really. So as I'm still thinking at this point it's a joke, we pull up to this house and William says, Mom, that's your car. I completely lost it. I started bawling my eyes out. I am speechless. My 13-year-old son bought me a car. He did some work for this woman, and that was his payment that he worked out with her. And here I thought it was a joke. Nope, I was handed the keys and paperwork to the car, and I'm freaking out, but also in shock, like, oh my gosh, this is happening right now. So we got in the car, it started right up, and off we went. I'm so proud of my son. He's such a good kid. He may have his days, but oh my gosh, what 13-year-old kid do you know that buys his mom a car? William, I love you, son, and thank you. You have such a big heart, and I love you. And check that out, though. It's become a national news story. I just thought that was really sweet. Something that something this person did, young man did for his mama. Isn't that nice? Crazed Bernie supporter with mohawk attacks elderly man wearing MAGA hat, chases him out of Starbucks, screaming, "Get the F out." There's no video of this. I just want to show you this picture. But we covered this last week. We had a young person attacking an elderly man who was at a pro-life vigil, and he was holding some kind of a pro-life banner. The young man took the banner from the old man. And I see old man, the guy was elderly. And the old man goes to the kid who's got his banner. The kid's getting on his bike. The old man puts his cane through the front wheel so he can't ride away. And the kid knocks him down on the ground and kicks him, starts kicking on him. I mean, this is where we're at, right? This is where we're at with what's happened with the left-right paradigm and what it's created. It's created monsters and hatred. This is like a really long post this lady wrote, just all proud of how she attacked this guy right here. Elderly man wearing a MAGA hat. And she cussed him out of Starbucks, it seems. So there you go. People's hearts growing colder. Here's the story about the exploding plane. This guy got some fascinating footage. What I believe are more of the type of UFOs that are actually entities. These are shapeshifters, shape-shifting entities. And at first he reported this as he thought it looked like a plane blowing up in the sky. But let's take a look, and this is definitely not a plane blowing up in the sky. Check this out. It's a short video. But I believe this is some of the entities, shapeshifters, and just look at some of the magic they do in the skies. We'll be seeing, I sometimes wonder, skies filled with all these guys someday when the alien invasion, quote unquote, or fake alien invasion takes place. But look at this. That's not a plane exploding in the sky. It's one of these weird light entities that shapeshift. Do it again. Get this. Fascinating. I'm fascinated by this footage and footage like this, especially when it comes to the diamonds in the sky, you know, the shape-shifting light diamonds in the sky and shape-shifting entities and some of the things they do, the things they create up in the sky. That. I believe these are demonic entities, interdimensionals, if you will. Thought that was a good one. Another example, showing you earlier, Yale Law School pulls funding from students working with Christian organizations. According to a report from the Federalist, Yale Law School announced a new policy in March that will effectively pull funding from students who work with Christian public interest groups. At law schools around the country, students that work for nonprofit legal organizations are often eligible for a stipend from their university. This practice encourages students to pursue noble nonprofit work despite the lack of pay. But earlier this year, one of Yale University's LGBT groups demanded that the law school pull financial support from students who work with Christian public interest groups like the Alliance Defending Freedom. The push came in the aftermath of a campus event featuring an attorney from ADF who spoke about the Masterpiece Cake Shop case in which a Christian baker was asked to bake a cake for same-sex wedding. I mentioned this one last week. They have Sharia law in another country right now where they're talking about beating homosexuals in public and all kinds of terrible things. But here in America, it's like, they wouldn't make us a cake for our wedding. Meanwhile, in other countries, you're getting tortured and beaten and murdered, especially under Sharia law. The Yale Law School pulls funding from students working with Christian organizations. So here we go, right? More of that shift from just the censorship and attacks on the, quote, right, you know, conservative Republicans. Now we're seeing it more on the Christians. I'm watching this one closely. We see these trends. Not a lot I'm going to talk about this. Just this kind of goes back to the sick stuff with Creepy Joe. Now you got Alyssa Milano. I believe Kavanaugh accuser becomes we can't assume with Biden guilt. So again, this is one of the people that were accusing Kavanaugh of all these things that were lies. The actress Alyssa Milano. Now she's saying we can't assume when it comes to Biden's guilt, even though there's tons of videos and footage of him groping women and also kissing children right on the lips. Who does that? Kids that aren't his? I've shown you this in some of my videos on him. Like kissing little boys on the lips. Who does that? That's gross. It's gross. I don't even do that with my parents. When I was little, especially now, you get older, you're kissing your parents on the lips, and you're an older person, a full-grown man or woman. There might be some issues there. Flowers in the attic, if you will. Another one, just, you know, here's, it's hardly set. Dianne Feinstein's bizarre defense of Joe Biden. Not going to read a lot about it, but again, all these creepy lefties defending the guy. This is the View story I was kind of mentioning. There's a new book out that talks about just how vicious and evil some of these women are. I can't stand Joy Behar. She's another one. I don't even know much about her, but you just look at her and she just seems just wicked to me. There's a new book out there that totally busts out all these people It's been one wild story after another since a tell-all book about the women behind The View was released this week. From backstage fights to ongoing feuds, Ramen Setud's Ladies Who Punch, the explosive inside story of The View, hasn't been short on drama. This is a book I'll be looking up. I just wanted to share it with you. I think it'd be interesting. The Ladies Who Punch, the explosive inside story of The View. So again, I have always had weird feelings about that show and about most of the people on it. And it turns out that there are some real wicked, nasty women behind the scenes. Joy Behar and what's her name? Barbara Walters as well get skewered in this. So for you book readers out there, that might be one you might want to look into. Now you got a doctor here advising threatening suicide to get transgender treatments for children. Last month, Justice Gregory Bowden of the Supreme Court of British Columbia, Canada, ruled that a 14-year-old girl may begin receiving testosterone injections without parental consent. Bowden's ruling, held as a massive legal win by the American LGBTQ nation, ensured treatment would proceed without parental influence by declaring that if either of the girl's parents refer to their daughter as a girl, they will be considered guilty of family violence under the Canadian Family Law Act. What are they doing in Canada? What is going on? In a text exchange with her father, Clark, 14-year-old Maxine indicated that she felt good about her injections and will stay on it. But Maxine's father, alarmed by the negative physical consequences of cross-sex hormones on children and the dubious grounds on which his own daughter was persuaded to pursue them, is desperately seeking a reversal. Yeah, there you go. So there you go. So you got this doctor here is telling the kids that one of the best ways to convince your parents or keep them off your case is to threaten suicide. And that's basically the idea. Here you have it, folks. Just another kind of headline. Will they ever learn? Another city is banning Chick-fil-A from airport. Again, I told you it's that shift that's taking place. These people are doing it. These businesses are banning Chick-fil-A because guess what? Here you go. Yet another Chick-fil-A restaurant has been barred from trading on account of its alleged anti-LGBT rhetoric. There we go, guys. These are Christians. It's a Christian organization, and they're being attacked because they believe that, you know, marriage is between a man and a woman. It's that simple. So we see that shift, right? As I told you. And for the last story, I'm not going to read much into this. We've covered this one in the past. For some reason, it's new again. Man who never felt human now lives his life as a dog in a $2,000 fursuit. You've probably seen some stuff on this guy. I just think it's sad when I see these stories. Again, I'm not making fun of these people or mocking them or anything. It just makes me wonder, where are we with humanity with some of these people where people are doing this kind of stuff, right? They're losing their minds. Anyway, I believe that concludes our stories. So I'm going to go ahead and click that off. I want to jump over here to the chat room for a second and say hi. Hey guys, thanks again for being here. Tamara, thank you so much. I see Twitwit in the house. No way. Let me go ahead and put my mute my speaker over here on the chat. There we go. Twitwit, good seeing you too, man. It's been a long time. I hope you're doing okay. And folks, thank you. As always, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate y'all coming here week after week. Let me know once this is uploaded if you like the earlier time at 5 p.m. or if you want to still do the 2 hours later at 7 p.m. I'm working on a brand new video. I'm always working on something. Again, guys, thank you to my Patreon friends, my PayPal friends, those of you who support the channel and the work. I don't even monetize everything. I don't even monetize these shows, but I know they're important because I can tackle tons of subjects and get them all out of the way and then put my focus on the bigger videos I really care a lot about and the bigger messages I want to get out there to you guys. So thanks to all of you who support my work because you make it possible. You make all this possible. So God bless you, man. I appreciate you. Like I said, I've always got something on the way. I've got a couple things in the works. New videos should be up in the next couple days. Always looking for my next interviews, and I'll probably be popping in some more just kind of chat shows here between us, Q&A type shows here soon, okay? So otherwise, I'll let you go, man. You guys have a wonderful weekend coming up. Have a great week. I look forward to seeing you back here next time for KJ's What Happened. And until then, God bless, take care, and just be good, okay? I'll see you around.